Welcome back to The Explainer. Have you ever just really stopped and looked around at the sheer awe-inspiring variety of life on our planet? It's wild. Whether it's the beauty of a galloping horse, a flock of migrating birds, a quiet valley just exploding with flowers, or, hey, even a fierce attacking shark, it all evokes this deep, almost primal sense of wonder. Early humans definitely felt this awe, right? They often deified nature way before they could even begin to understand it. But as our curiosity grew, we ran into a massive problem. How do you even begin to study something as vast, complex, and, let's be honest, seemingly chaotic as the entire living world? Well, today, we're going to look at exactly how scientists took all that incredible chaos and brought a profound, beautiful order to the whole shebang.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. First, we're looking at the vastness of life. Second, naming the chaos. Third, the rules of nomenclature. And finally, the taxonomic hierarchy.
All right, diving into Section 1, the vastness of life and understanding the scale of biodiversity.
To really appreciate why we needed a system of classification in the first place, you've got to understand the absolutely overwhelming problem humans faced when trying to study nature. I mean, if you walk into your backyard, sure, you see a few species. But if you increase your area of observation, say step into a dense, sprawling forest, the range and variety of organisms just literally explodes. In fact, 1.7 to 1.8 million. That is the staggering number of species currently known and described on Earth. Over 1.5 million. And here's the real kicker. As we explore new areas and even revisit old ones, new organisms are constantly being identified. This mind-boggling number is what we call biodiversity. Without a systematic way to organize these 1.8 million different puzzle pieces, the study of biology would just be an impossible, tangled mess.
To bring a little bit of a human element to this monumental task, let's take a look at Ernest Mayr. He was a legendary Harvard evolutionary biologist. People actually called him the Darwin of the 20th century. Mayr had this phenomenal career that spanned nearly 80 years. I mean, the guy was an absolute giant in taxonomy and systematics, almost single-handedly making the origin of species diversity the central question of evolutionary biology that it is today. He even pioneered the currently accepted definition of a biological species. His relentless pursuit to understand and categorize life actually won him the Triple Crown of Biology, the Balzan, International, and Crawford Prizes. It's scientists exactly like Mayr who literally devoted their lives to making sense of our living world.
Moving right along to Section 2, naming the chaos. This is all about moving from local confusion to global clarity.
Just imagine the absolute logistical nightmare of having millions of local plant and animal names that change from town to town, let alone across different countries. For scientists trying to share their research and discoveries, this created just massive, widespread confusion. To fix this, scientists desperately needed a standard. They needed a way to ensure a particular organism is known by the exact same name everywhere in the world. Enter the brilliant solution developed by Carolus Linnaeus: binomial nomenclature. It's a bit of a mouthful, but the crucial point is that this ingenious system guarantees every single organism is assigned one universally accepted scientific name. And that name is made up of exactly two parts: a generic name and a specific epithet. Let's actually look at a delicious example: the mango. If you're doing international agricultural research, the regional word mango just isn't going to cut it. Replacing it with the standardized scientific term, Mangifera indica, allows researchers worldwide to communicate flawlessly. In this binomial name, Mangifera represents the genus, and indica is the particular species or specific epithet. Just like that, boom, all the confusion vanishes.
Which brings us to Section 3, Rules of Nomenclature. Basically, the universal rulebook for biologists. Now, of course, a system is really only as good as the rules that govern it, right? So to keep this naming perfectly uniform, taxonomists established strict biological codes. You've got the International Code for Botanical Nomenclature, or ICBN, for plants, and the International Code of Zoological Nomenclature, the ICZN, for animals. These codes are there to ensure that every single name is totally unique and hasn't been used for any other known organism. Let's quickly walk through the 4 golden rules of this universal rulebook. Rule 1. Biological names are generally Latinized and always written in italics to show their origin. Rule 2, the first word is always the genus, and the second is the specific epithet. Rule 3, if you're handwriting the name, you actually have to separately underline both words. And Rule 4, the genus always starts with a capital letter, while the specific epithet is entirely lowercase. Oh, and you'll also often see an author's abbreviation tacked onto the very end. For example, Mangifera indica Linn. That just indicates that this specific species was first officially described by Linnaeus.
All right,
onto our final section, Section 4, the taxonomic hierarchy. Think of this as the nesting dolls of biological classification.
So naming is really just the first step. Classification is the actual process of grouping anything into convenient categories based on easily observable characters. In science, we call these categories taxa. And because classification isn't just a single step but a whole hierarchy, we group organisms based on their similarities. It's exactly like a set of nesting dolls, where we start really small and steadily zoom out. We start at the tightest, most specific level, the species. Taxonomic studies define a species as a group of individual organisms that share fundamental morphological similarities. Basically, you have to be able to distinguish one species from another closely related one based on distinct differences. We can use ourselves as a totally relatable anchor right here. We humans belong to the species Homo sapiens. Or, consider the humble potato. Its species is Solanus tuberosum.
Okay, now let's zoom out one level to the genus. A genus is simply an aggregate of closely related species that have more characters in common with each other than with species of other genera. Think about the big cats for a second. You've got the lion, Panthera leo, the leopard, Panthera pardus, and the tiger, Panthera tigris. Because of their heavy morphological similarities, all three distinct species are grouped together under the single genus Panthera.
Zooming out again, we hit the family level. This category groups together related genera. Now, the similarities here are definitely fewer than at the genus level, but they still share distinct broad features. For instance, our big cats in the genus Panthera are joined by the genus Felis, which includes your everyday adorable house cats. Together, they form the family Felidae. But because dogs have some pretty distinct differences from cats, they get separated into their own distinct family, Canidae.
So, what happens when we zoom out even further to the class level? Well, higher taxonomic categories like order and class are based on aggregates of characters. We take the cat family, Felidae, and we combine it with the dog family, Canidae, into the order Carnivora. Then we zoom out further. We take that order Carnivora and bring in the order Primata, which includes monkeys, gorillas, and gibbons, and we place them all together into the much larger class Mammalia. All right, so the absolute crucial point here is that as we reach the very top, we start encountering these massive buckets. Classes comprising animals like fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals are all assigned to the phylum Chordata. This is based on really fundamental shared features like having a notochord and a dorsal hollow neural system. And finally, all animals belonging to these various phyla are housed in the absolute highest category, kingdom Animalia. Plants follow a similar ascending ladder, ending up in kingdom Plantae. Just remember, the higher up the category you go, the fewer common characteristics the members share, which actually makes the relationships a whole lot more complex to figure out.
Let's pull this all together and look at the big picture. You can perfectly trace how our everyday examples climb this massive taxonomic ladder. See how man, Homo sapiens, moves from the genus Homo, up through the family Hominidae, order Primata, class Mammalia, all the way to phylum Chordata. You can trace the exact same organized climb for a housefly, a mango, or even a piece of wheat. It just perfectly illustrates how taxonomy transformed a world of confusing, hyperlocal names into a highly structured, globally understood hierarchy of life.
And honestly, that incredible structure brings us right back to where we started. As we categorize the molecular traffic of a cell or the ecological cooperation among these vast communities, our sources leave us with a really profound two-part question. What indeed is life? Now, there's the technical side of defining what living is versus non-living, which science and taxonomy obviously help us answer by mapping out all these relationships. But then there's the philosophical question. What is the true purpose of all this complex, beautiful life? While science can't totally answer that philosophical side, learning how perfectly ordered the chaos of nature truly is certainly leaves you looking at the world with a whole new sense of wonder, doesn't it?